Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brompton Technology. Welcome to InfoComm 2024. We are here with Jet Deam from Nextera, a big partner of Brompton. They have been helping us strongly in this development of IPMX and 2110 integration into our next generation of processors. Definitely, IPMX is the big unknown for many people that is going to be changing the industry very, very soon. So we are looking forward to hear from you, Jed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here as well. I'm also quite excited about IPMX and the amount of adoption we're seeing. The amount of interest at the show is just really crazy.
That,
So,
that's awesome.
so yeah, I've got a few slides we can walk through. A little bit about Nextera for people that don't know us. We're a member of all the major societies and organizations that are behind the technologies. So VSF and AIMS and AMWA. So we work very closely to make sure that this spec that we're bringing to the Pro AV industry meets all the needs of this industry. We've got products that we help manufacturers such as yourselves enable IPMX enable their products quickly and easily. That's really our mission in life. Yeah, so a little bit about the AV over IP landscape, if you will. As you can see, there's a demand for better quality and interoperability in Pro AV. It's kind of been the Wild West in the past. Everybody has their own system, they're incompatible. Customers don't like that. They want to be able to have an open standard-based system that they can buy multiple products and connect them together seamlessly.
Yeah.
So
And
that's kind of the goal.
standard is a big part of it, right? Because obviously we had in the past SDVOE, we have HDBST. I remember
Mm.
for a while it looked like HDBST will be a massive thing. But is the standardization of these systems what actually makes the big difference, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're not reliant on a single vendor that could be acquired or could change their business model. It's an open standard. It's published. It's on the VSF website. This standard will be here forever. So, and customers like the ability to be able to mix and match products between vendors.
That's awesome.
So there's also a lot of confusion about the solutions that are out today. You know, everybody wants the benefits that you get, the extended reach, the lower infrastructure cost, the flexibility. There's other solutions. You mentioned SDVOE, there's Dante, there's NDI. Well, but there's really four different flavors of NDI, and there's three different flavors of Dante, and they're all kind of slightly different, and they all have their place, right? There's niche cases where these do a perfectly good job, but we're trying to find a solution that solves the broad needs of the market, right? And that's kind of, how we came about the idea behind IPMX is how do we build something that's interoperable, that's scalar, that's resolution independent, network independent. It could run at 1 gig or 10 gig or 25 gig, whatever you need. It could have different codecs potentially, and industry validated. So that's where this group AIMS, Alliance of IP Media Solutions, got together and said, it's a multi-vendor group that said, how do we build this one standard that everybody can leverage, that can meet the needs of the industry? And that's IPMX, the IP Media Experience.
And I think that actually this is exactly what people need. It's the ease of all these other systems that, because at the end, networks are never fun or easy, right?
Mhm.
So making sure that people is able to use them with reliability, with all the options that they are looking for, and with a real advantage to whatever else they have been using, that is what is making it so strong at the moment.
Yeah, exactly right. And something that's easy to use, it's plug and play, it works in a variety of markets. You don't need, specially trained operators. They just want to be able to move the video from A to B simply and easily, and that's what IPNX enables.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So this is just a chart. I won't go through the details, but looking at some of the other systems, it's the multi-rate codec, the ability to do 4K P60 in a 1 gig network, very low latency, right? That's a important feature in this market. Anytime there's something live like we're doing now, if you're recording us in IPMX and displaying it, just a couple lines of latency, right? That's huge for any kind of live applications. There's software solutions, there's FPGA solutions, and it's near visually lossless at 4K over 1 gig. So very powerful. So, we talk about this is an open standard. Why do we need an open standard? Why can't we have a proprietary solution? And that's, we touched on a little bit earlier, but, we're trying to reduce the operational expenses, trying to make it easy for customers to integrate multiple equipment and find the best product for the particular job that they're doing and not have to worry about incompatible ecosystems and not tied to one vendor. So all very powerful stuff. Some of the key technology behind IPMX, some people may have not heard of it. Where did it come from? It's this brand new thing. Well, it really isn't a brand new thing. It's based on SMPTE 2110, which has been around for years and years in the broadcast industry, fully adopted. Any new major facility is doing 2110. It's proven. All the best and brightest minds in the industry got together and developed this very robust, resilient way to move AV over IP. And it's used to make most of the TV shows that we watch today. So we said, all right, let's leverage that. We'll leverage the NMOS, which is the control system that gives you the plug and play, because a customer just wants to see a little push button routing screen. I want to connect this sender to this receiver, boom. That's what NMOS lets you do. But unlike an HDMI system or something, it auto discovers. If you plug in an IPMX device, boom, it can magically appear on your display. Oh, hey, there's a transmitter here. Oh, there's a video wall here. Great. Let me route something to it. And then JPEG XS, what allows you to squish the video down and get it into 1 gig interfaces. So 3 very powerful technologies that make this all work.
I want to mention because 2110 clearly is the motor behind this. IPMX is this layer that is going to allow 2110s to get into even more industries than it already is.
Yeah.
Because the fact is that a lot of people talk about 2110, like for the industries, absolutely strong. And that's what's convincing quite a few of the rest of the players. But then we have to see like what are you actually looking for. In many cases, I'm more with, for example, LED. Definitely, IPMX is going to give you better results, right?
Yeah.
For smaller setups.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that the Pro AV market really needs that broadcast didn't care so much about is the ability to handle asynchronous sources, right? In broadcast, everything's gen lock, they got PTP, everything's synchronous, but that's not the way the Pro AV world is. So that was one of the biggest additions we did in IPMX is we said, let's handle an asynchronous source, like a PC, for instance, that can't be gen locked, and let's allow a receiver to lock to that clock and have still a couple lines of latency all the way through the system, fully locked, fully clock recovered. So huge feature that wasn't available in 2110 that is part of the IPMX system.
Yeah, absolutely. And because still many of the workflows for video people in many industries, probably not in broadcast, but in many other industries, is I plug my HDMI here, I plug my HDMI there, and things work.
Yeah.
And right now with 2110, it wouldn't be exactly that experience. You will have a couple of more steps in the middle, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you need PTP generators and other things like that to make the whole system work. So yeah, IPMX is intended to be plug and play, just like HDMI, make it simple. The other thing we're doing in AIMS is we're coming up with a program, a branding program that says, if you got this IPMX label on it, it's just like having an HDMI label. I plug in a cable here and plug in a cable here. It's just going to work.
Absolutely. And that's why I guess that a lot of people is now calling it HDMI over IP.
Right.
The same as 2110 was SDI over IP. This is how it evolved.
Yep.
IPMX gives you the feeling of the HDMI experience.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's
Good.
awesome.
Good. So we talked a little bit about the open standards. This is kind of a list of all the different standards that have been worked on, the completed and published one. Lots of check marks there you can see on the screen. A lot of green stuff, but there's more stuff. We're always working on something new, adding new capabilities, adding USB, adding error correction, adding encryption for cases where you really want to protect the content. So work continues, but the base set is in place. We do all the things you want, HDCP, audio, video, audio multiplexing, et cetera, et cetera. It's all there, and it's all published. So if you want to see what this open spec actually is, go to the VSF website, vsf.tv. They're all there, and most of them are final.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned audio, obviously, I mean, Brompton is a LED processing system, but one of the things that people have to do today is to strip their video from their audio, and that requires a few frames of latency using a new device in order to send it to different places. But using something like IPMX with NMOS, you can actually assign your stream of video to one place, the LED processor, your stream of audio to your mixing device or to something else, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent point because we're not just putting the video and the audio and all the ancillary in one stream and sending it. Following the 2110 scheme, it's 3 separate streams. You can send it wherever you want. You can send the audio to the mixing console, you can send it to a receiver, and it's all on the network. So you don't need a special audio matrix switch anymore. The receiver can decide, well, I want this video stream and I want that audio stream, and let's put them out on the display.
That's awesome.
So talked a little bit about PTP. You do not need it in IPMX. If you have it in the system and you choose, maybe you want to synchronize multiple displays or video walls or LED displays, PTP could be helpful. So it is supported in IPMX, but you don't have to have it if you don't need it. We talked a little bit about the codec, JPEG XS, this 14:1 compression ratio. It's an amazing codec. It does wonderful things, very low latency, and it can also be done in software, which is nice. But that's not the only codec. The other codecs will be supported. It's just the first one. NMOS is the magic behind it for the customer interface. The guy that's actually going to be pushing the buttons, there's some pictures of some routers there. The customer just wants to be able to plug it in and have it work and have it show up. In this case, some of these routers here have LEDs on the buttons. So imagine you plug in a sender, you plug in a video wall or an LED wall, for instance, and it just prints right there. Oh, the Brompton LED wall just came up. Oh, okay. Let me route something to there, right? What could be easier?
And I think that NMOS as well is there's very powerful tools in this whole ecosystem, but NMOS is one of the top ones to be able to achieve these things. As we said, route your video or your audio, or just to see everything that is connected right now in the same network and where things are going. So you have a complete overview of these connections.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a standard, and there's many controller manufacturers that make NMOS controllers. So you can buy any IPMX equipment and connect it to anybody's controller, and it just works. So beautiful. This is a little bit about how NMOS works. It uses this IGMP. Won't go through the technical details, but you can check out our website if you want more details on that. So, in summary, the Pro AV market really needed this high quality, efficient, secure, interoperable solution. IPMX is the only solution out there that meets all those needs. Beautiful 4K over 1 gig, security for the content and the control, and leverages all these existing standards, so it's not tied to a particular vendor. So, we've had great feedback from all the customers, the end users that have come by. Like, this is what we've been asking for. Thank you so much for doing this. So now we're out there just to help educate everybody about how this all works.
There is quite a few of big players already implementing IPMX. Obviously, for us, has been something that seems very, very important for what we do. I wanted to ask you, what type of security for control does it offer?
Yeah, so the control NMOS is based on HTTP, the same technology your web browser uses. So you can create a very simple controller yourself, and you do these HTTP writes to the endpoints. Well, as you know, that's not secure. And anytime you've done any web browsing recently, you see it says HTTPS at the top, meaning it's a secure layer. Well, we've implemented a secure version of NMOS control as well, using this TLS 1.3 transaction layer security, so that all the communications between the controller and the devices are encrypted. There's also another layer for authorization, so you can have certain users with certain permissions. So maybe one user can only change a particular device, an administrator can change everything. So that solves the security problem.
And that's great because this is one of the concerns for a lot of people in order to implement this. And as well for things like corporate building, having your video in your network without having dangers of anyone trying to get in can be very important as well. So that sounds great.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Yeah, well, that's the summary of our IPMX technologies.
I mean, this all sounds great. I have seen, as I said before, many companies integrating it now. When do you think that we will start seeing the first full systems of IPMX being used on the field?
Yeah, well, we've seen a couple full systems already. New York Stock Exchange has deployed a system that's working quite well. There are some universities that are doing some systems. It's actually catching on pretty quickly now. The number of vendors is really multiplying dramatically between this time last year and now. You can walk around the show floor. You see a lot of IPMX logos. And if you were to come by the Ames booth, you can see a lot of them in action. And we have a lot of examples of things like airport displays or pubs, mixing HDMI content and their own graphics, everything running an IPMX network, all, just Cat5, RJ45, meeting all these types of applications. So we're seeing a huge level of adoption now. So it's coming very quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, as I mentioned before as well, it is very important because the capability to put any aspect ratio and to optimize the stream to your LED wall is very, very important with IPMX. What type of applications? For me, this is live events, virtual production, all this. Whenever there is an LED on the field, probably IPMX is going to be a better solution in the way that we see it. What other applications do you think that it is going to be integrated in?
Yeah, just any kind of corporate AV, any house of worship, education, um, uh, public displays, commercial displays, malls. There's LEDs everywhere. You walk through any of the shopping malls around Vegas, you see LEDs, and the older ones have, big fat cables running everywhere, and you've got distance constraints on HDMI. It just solves so many problems like that. It makes it easy for a retailer to just be able to put LEDs wherever they want and pull a nice thin RJ45.
And actually, Vegas is quite a good example because the LEDs have all sort of shapes going in every direction in the buildings and in advertisement, in billboards and all these things. So that will be quite a good solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Jared. I mean, Jed, we definitely are looking forward to see where these technologies go and what are the capabilities. And probably people in the industry are going to have crazy ideas on where they are taking this type of setups. And thank you very much to Nextera for the collaboration and for the partnership. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure working with Brompton as well. You guys make an amazing product. And thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you, Jed.
Yep, cheers.